Why do women pursue emotionally cold men? Let me tell you this. In every relationship, emotions are always the center of the game. Not money, not appearance, not sweet words, but emotions. Women live by emotions. Men live by logic. And this difference creates attraction, creates tension between two poles, creates something psychology calls emotional polarity, the contrast that makes both unable to take their eyes off each other. Women have a very small emotional bandwidth, but with extremely high intensity. They can shift emotions within minutes, feel deeply, feel intensely, and feel in a way men sometimes can't keep up with. Meanwhile, we men have a wider cognitive bandwidth, meaning a stronger capacity for processing information, analysis, and reasoning. And here's the interesting part when these two things become imbalanced. It's not a problem, it's the beginning of attraction. Attraction doesn't come when two people are the same. It comes when one side is a wave of emotions and the other is a rock standing still in the sea. One person lets themselves drift with their feelings. The other keeps their life from being carried away, and women, by a very natural instinct, gravitate toward the man who stays centered, not because they like cold men, but because they feel safe next to someone who isn't controlled by emotions. They like men who listen, but don't get swept away by their feelings. They like men who understand, but don't overreact. They like men who have emotions, but don't live inside them. When a man becomes too emotional, too easily shaken, too easily pulled into whatever she's feeling, women lose their sense of femininity. They feel like they're standing next to a second version of themselves, and at that moment, attraction disappears. But when you stay calm, composed, and centered, you create an energy many women never say out loud but are always drawn to the energy of stability. The energy of a man who knows what he's doing. The energy of a man who doesn't let emotions lead him, but doesn't deny them either. That's why, from the very beginning, I want you to understand one thing. Clearly, emotions are not something men should chase. Emotions are what women bring. Stability is what men must hold. And it's the combination of those two that creates the kind of attraction no pickup line can compete with. Brother, this game always starts with emotions. But the one who leads is always the man who keeps his logic. Let me break this down in a very clear and down-to-earth way, so you can visualize the two types of men who are not emotionally ready. Because if you understand this part correctly, you will immediately understand why many men get abandoned while others are pursued by women. In modern psychology, emotionally distant is not a simple label. It is two completely different groups, two different types of energy, and two entirely opposite outcomes. The first type is the kind of man women are most strongly drawn to. The focused man. He doesn't avoid emotions. He's not cold. He's not trying to be mysterious. He's simply busy building his life. He has goals, direction, and discipline. And when a man orients his mind toward his career, life purpose, health, future, emotions naturally move to the background. This isn't indifference. This is prioritization. He doesn't pour energy into drama or meaningless emotional conversations. He doesn't let himself get pulled into the swirl of small daily fluctuations. And because of that, the focused man naturally creates an emotional space that women love. Women get to be themselves, to feel however they want, to express what they go through without worrying he'll get swept up in it. He is the anchor, the pillar in the storm, the man who makes them feel more feminine, softer, safer. This is why women are attracted, not because he's mysterious, but because he has a center. He doesn't need to prove anything. He just needs to exist in his true energy. And the second type, the avoidant man, is the complete opposite. This type knows exactly what he feels but chooses to hide, chooses silence, chooses to cover up, chooses to close off. No communication, no confrontation, no resolution. He uses silence to mask fear, uses avoidance to escape responsibility. And the most dangerous part, this type of man often thinks he's like the first type, when in reality he's just running from his own emotions. Women sense this extremely fast. They can distinguish a focused man from an avoidant one. The focused man creates stability. The avoidant man creates insecurity. The focused man creates attraction. The avoidant man creates toxicity. And women, no matter how infatuated, will eventually run from type 2 because they know this. A man who is not emotionally ready and not ready to solve problems cannot build a future. The key point is this: women don't chase bad boys. They also don't chase men who pretend to be cold. They chase the man with a center, the man who knows who he is, the stable one, the one who builds his life first, then lets emotions enter at the right time, in the right place. When you have a center, you don't need to pretend to be indifferent. You just need to live in the right direction. But when you're avoidant, you can never create real attraction. So understanding these two types correctly is the first step to becoming the kind of man women respect and want to commit to. This is the part most men misunderstand. And this misunderstanding is exactly what makes them lose their natural attractiveness. Many men think if she's sad, I should be sad with her. If she's angry, I should get angry too to show I'm on her side. If she's stressed, I should show it as well so she knows I understand. But the truth isn't like that. Women don't want men to react the way they do. They don't want you to get angry with them, don't want you to be sad with them, and even less want you to copy-paste their emotions and throw them back into the conversation. That doesn't make them feel more loved. It only makes them lose the feeling of being themselves. Let me explain this in a very simple, everyday way. When a woman is emotional, she's on the emotional channel, but men are designed to be on the logical channel. If both jump into the same channel, balance is lost. Both are angry, explosion. Both are sad, sinking to the bottom. Both anxious, suffocating, overwhelming, stuck. Modern psychology calls this emotional mirroring overload. It means that when a man reflects a woman's emotions too much, her brain loses ownership of those emotions. She no longer feels, "This is my emotion." When a woman no longer has her own emotion, she loses connection, loses interest, loses attraction, and this happens very fast. Sometimes in just one small argument or one moment when you try to mirror her feelings. Women, by nature, want to feel in their own way. They want to be angry, to be sad, to worry, to express, to vent. They want space to release their emotions without the man beside them drifting in that same current. When a man drifts into their feelings, women lose that sense of "he is my anchor." They feel like they're standing next to a second version of themselves, someone easily shaken, easily drifting, easily stirred, easily swept away. And that's when attraction drops sharply. What women truly want is this: they want to feel. While you stay steady, they are the water, you are the rock, they are emotion, you are the center, they are changing, you are stability. The two of you are not meant to merge into one and become the same. You are meant to complement each other to create emotional yin-yang. When a man stays centered, a woman feels safe. When a man stays centered, she feels more feminine. When a man stays centered, she finds it easier to express her true feelings, to open up, to trust. A man who is emotional is not scary, but a man controlled by his emotions is someone a woman will never respect. What they need is not an overly empathetic man. What they need is a man calm enough to listen and clear-headed enough not to be swept away. In other words, they need a man with emotional discipline. Women don't want you to be like them. They want you to maintain the difference. They want you to still be a man even in the most emotional moments. When they rise, you hold the rhythm. When they fall, you stay grounded. When they are chaotic, you stay stable. That is what creates the deepest level of attraction. Not flowers, not sweet words, but emotional steadiness. And this is exactly why women don't want men to be too emotional. They don't need a copy. They need a counterbalance, a true yin-yang, a man they can lean on, not a man who collapses with them every time emotions surge. This is the most important part, the one very few men know, but women sense instantly. People call it the containment principle, the ability to hold emotional space for a woman. It sounds complicated, but it's actually very simple, very real, and it is the exact difference between a man women respect and a man they see as emotionally fragile. In therapy psychology, containment means when one person expresses strong emotions, the other stays steady so that they have space to release without being carried away. Simply put, women need a place to unload emotions. Men often think that when she cries, they should cry too. When she worries, they should worry with her. When she's angry, they should react to show they're on her side. But no, women don't need you to sink into the emotions with them. They need you to stay steady. They need you to listen. They need you to let them pour it out, to speak, to feel without being judged. And most importantly, they need you not to take those emotions onto yourself. Why? Because if you get swept into their emotions, you're no longer the anchor. You become the one tossed by the waves, and they are already too familiar with being the wave. They don't want another wave standing next to them. They want a rock. A man who can contain, who can hold emotional space, always triggers 4 strong reactions in a woman: respect, trust, safety, and deep attraction. Not because he's rich, not because he's handsome, not because he's mysterious, but because he is steady. He is not controlled by emotions. He does not react impulsively. He does not get dragged into the spiral she's going through. He keeps his masculine center. That's why women always say, "I just need you to listen." But men often give advice too early, argue, try to explain, or worse, get angry with them. Women don't need that. They don't want you to fix their emotions. They want you to hold space for them to feel them. Imagine it like this. She is holding an emotional ball. You don't need to take it from her. You just need to keep your hands open so she can place that ball down, but you must not grab it, must not toss it, must not kick it. Just contain it, not carry it. And the moment you don't steal that emotion from her, a woman feels deeply safe. Safe to say everything. Safe to vent. Safe to be vulnerable. Safe to be feminine. See, when women release emotions next to a man they don't trust, they hold back. But next to a man who can contain, they open up more, connect deeper, and trust harder. And the most interesting part, they are instinctively attracted to this type of man, because you carry the energy of a pillar, of someone who stands steady in the storm, not the energy of a second girlfriend, someone who reacts like them, feels like them, and erases the masculine-feminine polarity. In love, difference creates attraction, but steadiness creates connection. When you hold the container role in emotion, not rising with them, not spiraling with them, not sinking with them, you become the man or woman can rely on, admire, and desire. This is not a technique. This is character. Anyone can learn it, but only men who truly have a center can embody it. And that's why containment isn't just a skill. It is the sign of a mature man. As long as you stay steady, women will naturally balance themselves. As long as you stay steady, attraction will naturally arise. As long as you stay steady, every wave becomes gentle when it hits you. Let me tell you this clearly. Women are not only attracted to looks or words. What they are most strongly and deeply drawn to is a man's focus. A man who is building his life always carries a very special kind of energy. An energy women feel immediately, even if you don't say a single word. First, you have goals. A man who knows where he's going, what he wants, and why he does what he does, naturally radiates attraction. No need to show off, no need to prove anything. Your presence alone is enough for her to sense your direction and vision. Next, you're not controlled by emotions. A focused man doesn't live in yesterday's fluctuations, doesn't let temporary emotions dictate his actions. You have emotions, but you don't let them interfere with your path. That creates a type of stability women deeply value. Then there's this: you are busy building your own future, a man with work, goals, ideals, something to pursue, is infinitely more attractive than a man who is idle and drifting. The energy of progress, of growth, of discipline that is pure masculine energy. And women are drawn to it in ways even they can't explain. You prioritize your work, your health, and your career. You value yourself. Take care of yourself. Invest in yourself. When a man builds his own foundation, women see a future in him. They don't need to know how much you earn. They see your capability. They see your potential. They see your seriousness about your own life. One more thing: you're not pulled into drama. A focused man doesn't let himself sink into meaningless arguments, impulsive emotions, or anything that scatters his energy. He chooses calm, chooses logic, chooses center, and that makes women feel safe because next to you, they don't have to fear extreme reactions or irrational outbursts. This is masculine polarity, the natural contrast between masculine and feminine. And it is also why women become softer, more feminine when they stand next to a grounded man. When a man stays centered, women feel 4 important things: safety, strength, stability, and self-control. When they feel these four things, attraction doesn't need effort. It happens instinctively. No forcing, no acting, no tricks. A focused man always radiates an energy that makes women automatically respect him. You don't need to talk much. You just need to keep moving in the right direction. The truth is, the more a man focuses on his own life, the more women are drawn to him, because they see what women always look for: a man who knows who he is, knows what he wants, and doesn't let the world pull him off his path. Focus isn't just a skill, it's character, and character is always more attractive than anything else. No one says a man has to turn into a rock emotionless, unmoved, without joy or sadness. That's not realistic, and it's not attractive either. Women don't want a walking machine. They want a man who can feel, but feel at the right time, in the right place, in the right way. What women fear is not your emotions. What they fear is uncontrolled emotions. So the important thing isn't whether men have emotions or not, but how men manage those emotions. Women want you to have emotions, but they must be selective emotions, meaning you don't need to open up about every little thing. You don't need to complain or unload every feeling from your day. You just need to share what truly matters, the things that build connection, not the things that dump weight. They want you to have control, meaning you recognize when you're angry, sad, or hurt, but you don't let those emotions dictate your actions. You respond with clarity, not with impulse. They want you not to express everything all the time. A man who constantly says, "I'm sad today," "I'm worried today," "I'm stressed today," makes a woman feel like she has to carry both emotional systems, hers and yours. That makes her lose emotional safety, lose femininity, and eventually lose respect for you. They want you not to unload onto them. Women are not a place for men to dump all their burdens. They can be partners, but not an emotional trash can. When a man pours all his negative emotions onto her, she quickly becomes drained and distant. They want you not to let emotions control your behavior. A man who explodes whenever he's stressed, shuts down whenever he's sad, or collapses whenever he's anxious, cannot create a sense of safety. And women, no matter how strong, always want to feel safe. This is what psychology calls dual-channel dynamics. Very simple: channel 1, emotion led by women. Channel 2, logic led by men. When these channels are not reversed, men and women automatically balance each other. Women feel, men keep rhythm. Men stay rational, women soften. The two complement, not cancel out. And this balance creates a relationship that doesn't suffocate, because no one is crushed by the other's emotions, doesn't become chaotic, because one person always stays grounded, doesn't turn into emotional competition, because neither tries to prove who's sadder, more hurt, or more right emotionally, yet remains deeply connected, because men share selectively. Women feel in their natural way, and both hold the roles they're meant to embody. A man can feel, but he must not let emotions drive his life. That is the line between weakness and maturity, and that exact line is what creates the true attraction of a man. Let me tell you this, and this is the truth: many men waste their youth to finally realize women do not chase cold men. They chase steady men, a huge difference. Coldness is avoidance. Steadiness is control. Coldness is shutting down. Steadiness is standing firm. A centered man is not a man without emotions. He's a man who stays grounded even when emotions appear. You don't need to share everything. You don't need to express too much. You don't need to react strongly when she's angry, sad, or anxious. You just need to listen, like a real man, not like someone trying to jump into her emotions. Stay calm, so she feels safe next to you. Offer perspective, not reactions. A simple, "I understand. Here's what I think," has more value than 1,000 complaints. And most importantly, you only need to focus on your life. When you focus on your goals, on your career, on discipline, on becoming a better version of yourself, you radiate a kind of energy women are automatically drawn to, not because you're trying to be mysterious, but because you're aligned with your masculine nature, a man with direction, purpose, strength, and stability. Women are attracted to that instinctively in a way they cannot explain and don't need to explain. Finally, I want you to understand this: women are not attracted to emotionally unavailable. They are not attracted to indifference, avoidance, or cold silence. What they are truly drawn to Is emotionally disciplined a man who knows his emotions but isn't swept away by them? A man who has a heart, but that heart doesn't drive his life? A man who faces emotions yet stays centered? That is the level women pursue. Not coldness, but emotional maturity. Not indifference, but steadiness. Not avoidance, but growth. And when you become that kind of man, you won't need to chase anyone. Women will naturally move toward you, because a man with a center always has an attraction no line or pickup trick can replace.